Welcome everyone to the third edition of WAM Talks, where we're inviting a member of the WAM community to talk about a subject in fitness and nutrition that they are really, really passionate about. We'll be live for about 45 minutes to an hour. And please, as this is an Instagram Live, if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments and we'll get to it either on the fly or at the very end of the session. Depends a little bit on how it fits in terms of topic. If you don't know me, I'm Anna, the founder of WAM We Are More, a vegan sports nutrition brand that is trying to do things a little differently. And my guest today is Teodora Sklayne, originally from Bulgaria, but she considers herself a world citizen. And Teo got into the fitness world around 15 years ago, so been there a long, long time. She has done anything from powerlifting, strong woman, to CrossFit team competitions, but then a shoulder injury happened and she moved to a more balanced and gentle approach to both health and fitness. And she discovered breathwork and cold exposure several years back when she was working in Australia. So this is a big part of what we'll be talking about today. And Teo is also the founder of ATTIKA Fitness here in Barcelona. This is actually how we know each other. And maybe she wants to tell you herself a little bit more about what led her down this path.
Yeah, so I was just reflecting as well, just before joining, that like everything that I'm doing in my work is very much stemmed from my personal experience in the health and fitness uh, world, you know? So as my health journey was evolving and different challenges were coming up over the last 15 years, that's how also my offering was evolving alongside with it. And that's how it became from personal training into personal training studio into a holistic approach with breathwork, cold plunging, nervous system regulation, and all the rest. So it's kind of like how it came about. And obviously beautiful collaborations like the one with Anna. And yeah, that's how it all came about.
Nice. And I think a big part is also something we share, which is making both fitness and nutrition more accessible to people because you have this like image sometimes that you need to be like super strong and super fit to get started down this path. And I think what we're both sharing in terms of mission is also to make this easier.
Absolutely. I think accessibility and understanding that each of us have a unique path and you don't have to be anything to start. You just start and it's okay to need support at the beginning, and that's what we're there to do, to educate, to support, and just to give that little nudge that, a lot of people struggle with at the beginning, especially.
Speaking about education, since today is all about the nervous system regulation, mind-body connection, let's start out with an explanation of what the nervous system actually is, since it's the foundation of the talk today.
Yeah, so nervous system, think of it, it's your command center, it's your communication center. It's where everything stems from in terms of like decision making, conscious and unconscious. I was just nerding a little bit and I was reading like actually like how much information can the brain take and how much information can the brain actually like process. And it was saying like something like the neurons can take like 11 billion bits per second or something like that. But what we actually like what it's converted to, what we process consciously, it's like 10 bits per second. So I was like, all right, okay. So like that's very, very interesting how our brain is so, so complex. But basically, nervous system is your body command center, and it's compiled of nervous system is central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. It's important to understand those little things so then you know how your body functions. Central nervous system, brain being the call center where all the information comes in and out and is being filtered, and the spinal cord is the highway of information going up and down. Okay, so then you have the peripheral nervous system. That's all the branches that go out into the rest of our body, contained of all of neurons that are then sending electrical signals through the spine into the brain, being processed, sending the information back out so our body can respond to our environment, internal and external. And why is this important? Because you have two components. You have the components of what you're conscious of, and you have components of what you're unconscious of. Okay. And understanding how your nervous system works can be really, really beneficial for you.
Nice. Thanks for this explanation. Let's try to process this and keep it in mind for the remainder of the talk. We hear a lot about how the system, which is beautifully designed, can become dysregulated. And I think a lot of people are potentially coming to you or looking for your services because they feel like there's something off or wrong. Can we dive a little bit into what the signs of a dysregulated nervous system can be? How can we detect if this is something that's happening to us? What are common things, common problems?
Yeah, so when we're talking about dysregulated nervous system or nervous system dysregulation, that's an imbalance in your autonomic nervous system. So I have to give you a little bit more again of so we have central and peripheral nervous system. The peripheral is the one that is like the branches all across the body, reaching the rest of your body, sending signal up back to the brain. That system, autonomic system, is then separated into somatic and autonomic. Okay, somatic, what we're conscious of in terms of movements. When I want to reach, I want to move, etc., etc. That's your somatic, your bodily movements. And then we have automatic. The autonomic nervous system is your liver functioning, your heart rate, your blood pressure, all of those things that, thank God, we don't actually have to control. Like if you have about your body does so much on its own that you don't have to think about. When the nervous system gets dysregulated, it's our autonomic nervous system, the one that we are unconscious of, that is, in a sense, malfunctioning. It is feeling lack of safety. This could happen due to chronic stress, due to childhood trauma, due to poor lifestyle activities, so choices around food, lack of movement, like what we're doing with our brain, potentially scrolling too much on social media. All of those like combined can dysregulate our nervous system, and it can make it like less efficient in its way of coming back to safety. Because ultimately, what is trying, our body is trying to keep us alive, right? So when it says this is dangerous, so it affects the danger, then it will react to it in order to keep us safe. In a dysregulated nervous system, what is completely safe is taken off as a threat to other body. Okay, and this is where chronic stress can take us into more chronic stress, can take us into more chronic stress.
So it's kind of a vicious cycle that you can plunge into once you're a little bit off. Yeah, can lead to
Yeah,
more
it's and
resistance.
it's never like a one thing. It's accumulation of different things, actions, and also things that we carry, like childhood trauma, like certain habits and patterns that we have to then disassemble and recreate again in our lives, in our adult lives.
And I guess it can have a huge impact on athletic performance, like cycling back to the whole fitness aspect as well.
Oh my God. I mean, athletic performance, absolutely. We're talking about maximum performance. So there, your nervous system can affect like your reaction, your overall movement coordination, your neuromuscular coordination, your like injury as well. Like injury prevention is a huge one when it comes to nervous system regulation. So in terms of athletic performance, yes. And in terms of well-being, like that's where like everything is affected by our nervous system. It's our nervous system is the control center of everything that is happening in our body. And think of it as really as the roots, the foundation of everything comes from. So that would be your digestive system, your reproductive system, your detoxification system, your mental health, your energy levels, your emotional regulation, everything.
Everything. Um, okay, so I think we have a pretty good idea of what the nervous system is, what it does for us, how it affects literally every area of our lives, from exercise to just daily well-being. So if I notice something is off, something with my nervous system is off, I feel constantly sluggish, tired, I'm getting a lot more injured than I used to get, or I'm getting sick, like would have a cold like every other week, things like that. And I realize I need help, and then I come to someone like you. What is it you would typically do with clients? What are there in terms of tools we can use to find back into a balance or to like rebalance the nervous system?
So the nervous system is health, right? A healthy nervous system is overall a healthy body, or at least is the foundation for it. And that relies on four foundational pillars. So none of them are independent. We have to cover all four of them, okay? We're talking about movement, we're talking about nutrition, we're talking about recovery, and then there is emotional regulation. Okay, once those four are covered, not simple. Okay,
Nope.
then we are affecting the nervous system directly through those. So, like exercise, movement. Obviously, like we all know how beneficial it is to move your body. And as much as your brain can affect how your body feels, your body can affect how your brain feels. If you are extremely tired and you have really low energy, we usually suggest to start with kind movements, slow movements. Yoga, dancing, walking, like getting your body moving can affect your nervous system hugely into feeling better. Okay. Nutrition. Honestly, if you don't know what you're doing with your nutrition, get help. I think that this is something that we all need to do. Like there is beautiful nutritionists out there, like that are helping us to cover that aspect. So in our services, we recommend our clients if they're struggling to work with our in-house nutritionist. And then we have recovery. Okay, the recovery is something that is very directly correlated to our nervous system. If our nervous system is constantly on drive and we go from a stressor to a stressor to a stressor, then our recovery will be affected because we are not able to down regulate. In a dysregulated nervous system is the down regulation, regular down regulation that is like sometimes balancing, or the system is in a completely shut down mode. When we're talking about this autonomic nervous system, we are separating that into sympathetic and parasympathetic. So one is activating our body. So it's in terms of like it could be fight, flight, or freeze, depending on like its stress response to our body. And the other one is calming the body down. So our regulated nervous system has both of those balanced. So in terms of your question, how do we help clients? Number one step is observing. How much time do I spend in my day going from one stimulus to another? And when I do want to take a break, what do I do in this break? Do I pick up my phone and I get for more stimulus? Or do I take a few deep breaths and try to down regulate, to listen to what's going on in my body? Are we constantly running away from our emotions, or are we giving them space? So this is the emotional regulation. And spending time with yourself and with your nervous system is what's going to heal it.
I think there's a big part about understanding as well, because for me personally, scrolling on social media in my brain is like a reward. Oh, I just worked super focused. Now I'm taking 10 minutes off time and I'm just gonna scroll through Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And of course, I guess there's a release of dopamine. It's like activating the reward function, but it's probably not exactly calming for the nervous system in that
You
regard.
know how we were just talking about the brain taking in all of these billions of bits of information, filtering through according to our memories and our past, and deciding, and our nervous system state will then decide if this is safe or not safe. And honestly, a cute puppy video on, like it was, oh, so cute. It gives us the dopamine hit. So, like, um, I'm not saying never scroll on social media. We are both on social media right now. So I
There's
don't think
no
we are meant to
denying that.
say that. I think there is it's really, health is a balance. It is giving one and the other. So it's first and most is observing. How much time am I spending in calm? How much time am I spending looking inwards? How much spent am I spending uh, problem solving? How much time am I spending moving? Just having a little bit of awareness and a picture of where I'm at, because before I need to change anything, I need to know like what I'm actually doing, or someone helping you with that observation. But that step number one is just checking in with yourself, like, how am I feeling? And that, if you haven't done, can take a little bit of time. That kind of like self check in, because we're so used to just automatically going and like feeling a little bit uneasy. So I'm gonna literally automatically, without thinking, getting the snack and eating it or grabbing my phone. And it's very interesting to observe. Once you start checking in with yourself, how many times do I pick up my phone? It can happen to me. I'm consciously deciding I'm gonna go and walk from work to home, and I'm gonna take that as a conscious time. How many times have I caught myself how while I'm walking, I have already picked up my phone and I'm doing something on it when I've promised myself it's gonna be a conscious walk? And it's like because I'm consciously walking, I'm looking at the trees, and I'm like, okay. And then a thought comes up, oh, I forgot to text this person about this. And what happens is this urgency to do it now. And then before I've even realized, I have already my phone and I'm on my way texting. So this is where, like, this kind of observation, it's not like, oh, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? It's like, okay, no, phone goes away. Conscious time. That's it.
So I think we're bridging already into the next thing here that I wanted to talk about, which is how how does it look like in practice when I start to try to work on improving the situation for my nervous system? Because we talked about how it's all connected. It's a super holistic approach. We need to look into physical activity and our movement. We have to look at our nutrition, our emotional status, our recovery. I think sleep is hugely important, and downtime in general. Um, so yeah, how do I even start to manage and to balance these? The first step, as you said, is observation, like checking in with my habits, what I'm doing. But then once I'm aware of the areas that need work, how can I start working on them?
Okay, so basically, step observation. Number two, we do have a fast track to affecting our nervous system. And this is where I got so passionate about specifically breath work and cold exposure, but not just anything to do with breath. Okay, because even though I am a breathwork and cold exposure facilitator, I don't say this is particularly the path and that's the only thing that should be doing. It is very beneficial, just like strength training. But here we're talking about starting to monitor your breath and starting to control and to create a relationship with your breath where you start controlling your nervous system response. So, what I was saying earlier, nervous system dysregulation means that your body feels unsafe when there is zero threat happening at this time. Okay. When you catch yourself, as you start observing, when you catch yourself, my heart is beating faster, I'm irritated, I want to text this person or I want to react. Like if you start doing practices around breathing, so just in that moment, taking a deep breath in, long exhale out, we are instantly activating our parasympathetic nervous system, activating through our vagus nerve, that is the longest nerve stemming through our body, reaching the rest of our body. We're activating it, we're letting our body know, I am safe, everything is okay. And from that place of safety, then we're capable of making more clear decisions, not screaming or texting back that thing that we want to, or whatever our reaction is. So we have observation, and then we have the nervous system regulation. So nervous system regulation happens through breathing. That's like a really fast track when you are in the stressor itself. But meditation, orienting yourself, that is really, really good for the nervous system as well. Music, here, just focusing on your hearing, like all of, like if we come back to our senses, if we come back to our body, this is how we're actually, so through our vision, through our hearing, through our sense, through our breath, we are basically informing, coming back to the body instead of the brain that is in like a full alert mode. And we're letting our body we're safe and cultivating that space little by little, step by step. We get to spend more time with our nervous system, letting it know it's safe, and we start working and operating from that part of our body, what is capable of healing, recuperating, our sleep gets better, decision making gets better, creativity gets better. And you know what? You have space for joy, for relaxation. You start appreciating what's now instead of pushing 1,000 steps forward always. It's a beautiful transformation you can do with your health and your mind at the same time.
That sounds amazing. That sounds like a great tool for people who just started a business as well.
That's how I started. I started actually doing like all the breath work and all the cold exposure, etc. When like 6 months into opening ATTIKA, I was in a burnout. I just couldn't function anymore. I was getting sick. My body was telling me too tired. It was too tired to get out of bed. It was too tired to do any workout. My old habits, okay, I'm gonna go for sprint intervals and I'm gonna go and lift really heavy and I'm gonna, so I was going from stimulus to stimulus to stimulus, and it worked for me for quite some time, majority of my life. But I hit a point in which the stressors were so much, my body wasn't capable of taking it anymore and went into a full shutdown mode. And this is where the chronic stress becomes this nervous system dysregulation to a point where you are now out of control of your body and you can't really quite anymore get it out. I don't wish that upon anyone, so you don't have to be in that state to start. Okay. But if
Better
you are,
early.
then definitely look into it. And if you're not, just observe, like, how much time do I spend feeling safe, feeling calm, creative, feeling joy, and how much time do I spend problem solving? Let's just call it that.
And you spoke about the breath work. What about the cold exposure? Because I can imagine that they're quite different in terms of how they challenge our body.
Okay, so first, breath work and breathing are two different things. Breath work is a modality of breathing. When I talk about breath, I usually talk about everything we do with breath. How am I breathing right now? How can I just take a few deep breaths? There is like all kind of modalities around pranayama, around apnea, holding your breath, and then breath work. Breath work itself is a hyperventilation that is reaching you to a alternate state of consciousness. So our thinking brain is going down, our memory brain, emotional brain is more alert in that state of breath work. So we're capable of releasing more emotions, traumas that are stored in the body, so the nervous system can down regulate. So that is definitely a down regulator, but it is happened through activating sympathetic, coming back to parasympathetic, sympathetic to parasympathetic. And we're strengthening that pathway, going in and out. We're releasing also just a lot of stored things in our body, emotions. Um, and with the cold plunge, this is like another level of activation of our parasympathetic through putting us in a stressful situation, right? In a sympathetic. When you go into the cold plunge itself, every alert in your body goes, get me out of here, I will die. So, and in reality, in real life, if you've fallen off in an icy lake and you stay there for long enough, in reality, you would die. But this is a controlled environment, right? We're getting in and we're controlling our breath. So this is where we have in neuroscience called top-down control. We're capable of calming our body down even when it's physically threatened by its environment, hence the cold plunge. And being able to cultivate that calming sensation can help to strengthen those pathways. Just the same way in training or resistance training, we're strengthening our muscular nervous system in those breath work and cold plunge practices. We're strengthening our nervous system. And that's why I'm so geeking out about this, because for over a decade, I've been strengthening people's muscular systems and making sure they move well, but at the same time, like strong so they can live for long and get up out of, with ease in their 80s and 90s, hopefully. And a healthy nervous system, a resilient nervous system is helping you for stress management. It's helping you to live a more quality of life, to recover better. And that will guarantee that we are hopefully not just getting out of bed, okay, in our 80s and 90s, but we're climbing mountains, you know?
That's the goal. That's definitely the goal. And I see that just quickly circling back, because I noticed that it's kind of connected, because I guess we need to do some sort of breathing during the cold exposure as well for it to get the maximum benefits. And I'm just thinking about a personal experience that I had when I was going to the sauna with a friend of mine and really enjoying the warmth and everything. And then going to one of these showers that's just splashing you with an entire bucket of super cold water. And I would dare to say I didn't prepare myself really well for this. Got under the shower, got the bucket on top of me, and instantly started hyperventilating to the point where I felt like I couldn't breathe anymore, and I actually had to step out and like try to open my lungs again and catch my breath again, because my body was screaming at me. It was like, "What the hell are you doing? Get out of there!" Which is maybe part of what we want, but not quite the reaction that we're looking for, because I felt instantly more stressed than before. And I guess a proper preparation and proper breathing probably helps with that.
100%. Look, like the situation that you got in, it's your body reacted. You didn't have the tools. You didn't have also the anticipation of what you're getting yourself into. So it's very natural that your body was reacting the way it does. So hyperventilation is our sympathetic nervous system activating. Usually it would get you active and get you out of there. And it succeeded to do that. Very, very helpful, right?
Yeah.
You did not stay in there. You got out. Then you start calming your breath, and then over time, you got yourself out. Okay. A healthy nervous system can get in that state and then recover relatively quickly. So, recovery time is important there too. But the cold plunge as a tool overall, whether we're going hot cold or we're going straight into the cold, if you do it in a controlled way, so if you prepare yourself, which is taking some deep breaths before I get into the cold plunge, so I feel I'm connecting to my body. Then I'm taking a deep breath in. I'm breathing out as I'm entering into the cold plunge. That means that we are teaching our body that it can stay calm within a stressor rather than first having to hyperventilate and then for us to bring it back. We can actually say, it's okay. This is totally threatening. I know you're on a full alert, but I've got you. And this, over time, if we repeat again and again, okay, can really help to strengthen those pathways of keeping you cool when everything around you is going sideways. Yeah. And we have so many examples, I'm sure, in our lives where we didn't keep our cool, and maybe where we did keep our cool, right? And we know the difference of how that feels. So, if you're not sure, if you've never done cold plunge before, if you go on ATTIKA.fitness Insta, we do have there what you need to do before you get into a cold plunge, step by step. So please follow that. And obviously, we have also guided sessions around it too. So yes, 100%. Knowing how to breathe around it is same thing as exercise. Imagine if you go into a 12-minute AMRAP and you just like are completely hyperventilating from the very start doing it. You're probably not gonna go far if you even manage to finish your 12-minute AMRAP. So it's a similar thing.
So in a way, you can strengthen your nervous system, like you can strengthen your muscles through like a gradual exposure to stressors, but in a safe environment to kind of build up a resistance, like you, I guess, build up a muscular or cardiovascular resistance almost.
Yeah, and let's be honest, we are actually strengthening our nervous system when we are training. When we're doing resistance training, we're strengthening our neuromuscular system. We are connecting to our body. We're strengthening parts of our system, but we're activating the sympathetic nervous system when we're doing any kind of zone 2, 3, 4 cardio, like or zone 3, 4 cardio or resistance training. We're breaking down muscle. It is a stressor to our body. So then we have to focus on the recovery part of that, activating the parasympathetic. So it can happen even taking calming breaths between your sets. That's also activating. You are lifting really heavy, you're doing something conscious nose breathing when you're relaxing your heart rate and you're lowering it in between exercise sets is also strengthening your nervous system. Breathwork and cold exposure are directly targeted at the nervous system and is strengthening the same way you would put with chin-ups and deadlifts in the muscular system. And from my personal experience, if you really want to optimize your health, you want to go that little bit further step on just covering the basics, I highly, highly recommend it.
And it seems like if you want to avoid an experience like I had with my unfortunate cold exposure, it's probably good to at least watch one of the videos that you also have on your channel, or maybe do 1 or 2 sessions with a coach before going off and doing it by yourself.
Yeah, because look, if you've never done it before, it's one thing how it looks on theory in the video. It's another thing when you enter in there. And what we help with is I am there, I have my eye contact with you, I'm helping you to actually come back to the breathing. So with some people, they enter, they're quite resilient already, their nervous system is relatively strong. So when they get in, they're capable of doing the regulation and they're okay within it. So within one session of trying with me, they can go and do the self-guided cold plunge in our space or somewhere else where they have cold plunge. With other people, it takes a few sessions in because literally as they're entering, they're and it takes a little bit of time. I have had clients that are like, I need to get out, I need to get out. And I said, no, I don't have this. And it's actually, I just go, start nodding yes, start nodding yes. So the first thing you do is start nodding yes. Then I go, take a deep breath. And as someone is telling you, now you take a deep breath and you get in there, you start to come back and then you're like, oh, okay, I did have this. I just didn't believe I had this. And if you do it by yourself and you get in and you're hyperventilating and you get out, that actually can be damaging to the nervous system because you just created a stressor without having the ability to calm the nervous system back down. And if you're already relatively on a like a more spending more time in sympathetic, less time in parasympathetic, you just brought it up a level higher.
And this is the cold plunge. What about the breath work? That seems like something that is more of a guided experience, or is that something one could do by oneself as well? Spoken from someone
I
who's never done it.
Well, you should come to one of our sessions. I started with guided sessions. There is a lot there to take into account. Like the hyperventilation can cause a lot of like a side effects in terms of you're releasing a lot of CO2. You get tingles. You might get cramps in your body because the CO2 is usually vasodilator. It opens your veins. As you're excreting a lot of CO2, you can get contraction in your body. You always do it lying down, feeling safe in a safe environment. And for me at the beginning, I needed to be taken care of. There was a lot of emotional release. There was some crying, there was some screaming. It is quite a journey, and it was too overwhelming to do it on my own. So I recommend to go and try a breathwork experience before you decide to do it on your own. Now I do more sessions on my own in terms of breath work. But then you have different breathing modalities that don't have to be. You have heart to brain coherence. Have you heard of that, Anna?
Nope, never in my entire life.
Have you heard of Joe Dispenza?
Probably came across the name, but never looked into it.
Okay, so basically, heart to brain coherence is this state of our body where we go into a brain wave that is very like balanced, calming for our body. We're reaching so-called theta waves in our brain, okay, that are very good for like regulating and calming the nervous system, but it's actually really good for healing our body. And heart to brain coherence is where we are breathing into the heart and then breathing into the brain. And it's usually 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And that has effect on regulating the nervous system, calming it down, and is beautiful for just regulation. Because we have the breath work and the cold plunge and etc. What I was talking about, that is a controlled stress. You can't be doing that every day. Don't do that every day. It's not good for you. But those kind of calming, regulative breathing or any kind of pranayama breath work can work on controlling your pranayama is controlling your energy. Okay, energy control. So we're controlling our inner energies, which is basically what nervous system regulation means. We're controlling our inner energy. And I know I just threw a huge amount of information at you, but if you want to take away one thing when it comes to trying breathing exercise at home, is breathe with Sandy, heart to brain coherence. It's 5 minutes and it's beautiful. Trust me. It's very easy to do. And after the 5 minutes, I am sure you will feel very, very different. And doing that once a day, twice a day, as many times as you really feel you're out of whack, can make a huge difference to your immune system, nervous system regulation, hence everything.
Might try that later today. I think the closest I've ever come to any of this was many, many years ago when I was still running half marathons. I kind of used my breath as a way to slow down my heart rate because, like, going up a hill or like starting out in the half marathon and you realize you're going a bit too fast or your heart's beating faster than it probably should if you want to maintain a certain pace throughout the race, really focusing on the breath and trying to control the breathing, maybe in together with the steps or the strides that you're taking, really helps to also control like your racing heart and makes a huge difference in terms of endurance, your pace, everything throughout the race. So I think that's what
Yeah,
is like intertwines with like actually active training, or as you were saying before, if you do sets of heavy lifts and you see a heart rate spike, like just taking the recovery time, like the 1.5, 2 minutes in between, not only to regenerate your ATP, which is also regenerating in that time for your muscular energy, but maybe also to take a few deep breaths to get the nervous system back to where it should be.
it will increase your performance. Just give it a try. I can guarantee it will increase your performance. If you are doing heavy lifts and you take deep breaths in, slow breaths out, and you take 5 to 8 of them, and then you just really focus on staying conscious with your breathing while you're recovering your ATP and you're getting ready for your next set. Then you can take a few deep breaths through the nose, like really deep. They are activating, they're oxygenating your body. You will naturally have a more alert nervous system. So first, we are calming the nervous system. We're going in, slow out, that is regulating nervous system, and then we go a few like deep breaths, that is activating our nervous system, and then we go to that lift. It will change your performance.
Maybe a new PR on the horizon there. um, some or a really dumb question in relation to cold plunge. What about cold showers in the morning? Does that have anything to do with it, or is it a completely different thing? Because my mom swears that it helps your immune system if you take a cold shower in the morning, and she's an immunologist.
Well, your mom is right. Okay, so uh, like it depends how cold, right? We're looking at like ice exposure and cold exposure. Ice exposure, we're looking at 8 degrees and lower Celsius. Okay, so this is where we are shocking, like really shocking the body and the nervous system. So it's like strength training, let's say, between 10 to 16 degrees Celsius. It's called cold exposure. It's a little bit more like strength endurance training. We're still training our body. We're just not like, it's not as high stressor, but it has a huge list of benefits from anything 16 degrees under. You're improving your immune system, you're improving your circulation. And like with the cold showers, it gets you out of your head and into the body. Okay. Anything that gets you out of your head and into the body is activating the parasympathetic nervous system. So that is helping you to get out in this like stressor of the body is unsafe because of this and this and this. Because as we get the cold shower, our body goes like awake. Okay, I'm here. All right. And it really helps to clear our mind from the non-relevant problems that were probably going around. And definitely improving what is the immune system, right? It is the efficient traveling of information back and forth. Okay. Why? Because just remember, guys, our bodies are doing everything automatically. Our bodies are healing automatically. When you have a little cut on your hand, do you have to think about it in order for that cut to heal? No, it heals itself. So our bodies are miraculous in terms of they're doing everything on their own. It's when we load them with problems over and over and over again, right? And they're already loaded with perhaps some, as I mentioned, childhood trauma, or like different stressors within our body, potential illnesses that are happening within, that we even have to be kinder to our nervous system in order to give it space, because that's all it needs, space, and it will sort everything else on its own.
So all of these techniques that we've been talking about, you mentioned it before, like there are some that should not be repeated every day. There's some that can be repeated on the daily, like you mentioned, just taking a deep breath, for example.
Hmm.
What are sort of like, is there a almost protocol you would recommend that is pretty universal and everyone could benefit from it?
I mean, I literally created a business with a fingerprint that is saying everyone is unique and everyone should walk their personal. But I like the question, and very generally speaking, with a lot of exceptions in mind, I would recommend you to cover the 4 pillars. 2 times a week, like strength training and some cardiovascular training, that's your movement, okay? If you're really like highly stressed at the moment, kind movement, dancing, walking, yoga, anything that just move your body every day. No exception, really. Unless you're really feeling sick and your body's asking you to stay still, then don't do anything. But if you're healthy, move your body every day. Nutrition, like it has a huge effect on our nervous system. Okay, what we are putting in on our body, our digestive system has to digest it, has to transport it and goes. So get a good balanced nutrition. 80-20 rule is a really good rule to apply. 80% of the time, eat healthy, 20% of the time, eat for joy, and enjoy it. Okay, then we're talking about recovery. This is something that we also have to be conscious. I like applying a little bit more of a sleeping routine as well as a morning routine. And I'm not talking about an hour and a half of doing things, etc., etc. But I mean, if we wake up and the first thing we do is we put a phone in our face, that's not ideal because we're waking up all of our sensors. So I would say wake up slowly and go to bed consciously. So going to bed consciously means just making sure that you take a few deep breaths when you're brushing your teeth. Be conscious. Leave the phone alone, and even if it's in the last 15 minutes before you go to bed, give yourself a little break. Those two things, morning and evening routine, can really affect your nervous system, and relatively going to bed and waking up at the same time, okay, whenever possible. 80-20
Not
rule
always easy.
again applies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fourth, which I find is the hardest, or for me personally, is the emotional regulation. Okay. It's giving space for all of our emotions. Everything needs to flow through us and exit on the other side. And when we have patterns that are pushing things away, denying some parts of our emotions and parts of our shame, putting ourselves and our constant negative self-talk, that's putting our body in a feeling unsafe. And as a result, our nervous system doesn't have space to recover and recuperate. So this is very complex, okay? But any of the things that I mentioned around nervous system regulation, having someone to talk to, community, like sharing your problems rather than pushing them down, like anything that helps you to give space in your heart to what's already there with acceptance can affect your health really, really massively.
I think it's super nice that we're talking about this very, very holistic approach. Because one thing I noticed lately was, well, the huge trend around cortisol. And whenever someone, an influencer or a self-declared expert nowadays, starts talking about stress, they usually niche down and focus on cortisol and make it like the boogeyman responsible for everything that goes wrong in our body. And then conveniently usually sell like some supplements to lower your cortisol, when cortisol itself is actually something we need, we produce naturally. It's what gets us moving in the morning. And it's only such a tiny, tiny part of our overall stress response. And it's also only a very tiny part of getting rid of that stress. So, of course, it's less sexy to have this like big universal approach, and it's not a great sales tactic to say, well, it depends. But I think it's really important to communicate this correctly.
Yeah, let's cover the bases. Cortisol, not evil. Sugar, not evil. Fats, not evil. Anything that is portrayed as evil or as the solution or the only solution, both of those things are not truths. Okay? Balance. Everything stays in balance. And I know balance is not very sexy to sell. And I know it depends and you're unique and it depends where you are is not very sexy for selling, but we are all in our own journeys. And not that only that we are unique as individuals, we are unique as where we are today. Where you are today is different to where you were 5 years ago, and is different where you're going to be from 5 years from now. So you know what? Even if you found a solution today, 2 years later, you're going to have to find the solution all over again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wish I had some golden thing. But one thing that is like we can center around is making sure that we spend enough time calm, enough time regulating, because the body automatically then is capable of dealing with those stressors and then is capable of helping us to find our own path because our intuition knows better than we do. So it
Yeah.
helps a lot.
And well, I guess life has its different stages, and just like our habits in every area of our life have to evolve, our response to stress can evolve as well. But with all of the tools that we discussed and we went through today, I think it just becomes a lot easier, or it's increasing the awareness of there is something we can do. We're not victims to to these stress responses that our body sometimes throws at us.
Yeah, and one more thing, like health is not running away from disease, okay? Disease might still happen. It's giving ourselves the resilience and the capability of dealing with it. So when we're talking about like healthy habits, we are building our ability, our resilience to recover, our ability to handle stressors. And stressors might happen with something happening in our family, with something happening in our health, with something happening in our work or in our environment, is believing and feeding our body and mind enough so it is resilient and it's capable of overcoming this in a more sustainable way that is giving us a good quality of life over a long period of time.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. If you just want to quickly mention again where people can find you, can find your services, just so we have
Yes,
it.
absolutely. So you will find us on attica.fitness is our Instagram, or atticafitness.com is where you'll find our website. In there, you'll find also we do different events. If you click on our blog, you'll find that we're doing different events like breathwork, cold plunge, social events, etc. I offer also private breathwork and cold plunge sessions for anyone in Barcelona that is curious to experiment with their nervous system. And thank you, Anna, so much for inviting me. It's been a real pleasure. Yeah, thank you for everyone watching.
Thank you so much for making the time to come to this live. And if you're listening to this on YouTube or Spotify, I will try to include those links into the show notes, so to speak, if I can figure out how.
Super.
Thank you so much for listening, for everyone listening live as well. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Catch you on the next one. Bye bye.
Bye bye.